I might be a little upset if I don't have a cameo because I couldn't sell that, so just add it to the end. One of the things that you guys inevitably have heard in pretty much anywhere is the loudest voice, the squeakiest wheel gets the oil. But when you're in a professional industry, those voices need to come timed, planned, and with purpose. This is an interesting panel to have all of these associations up here at one time talking about a common theme. And I'm really interested in this. I hope you all are all too. This panel is going to be empowering others through associations and advocacy, which is a big push right now on both sides right now. So I'm so happy and excited to introduce our moderator, Eddie Perez, EPM.
Hey everyone, how's everybody? Is it working? Oh. How's it going so far? Having fun? All right, looking forward to this panel. Not only of just distinguished leaders, but I think something of the conversation that we'll be having more people at the table to have great discussions. I'd like first to introduce Katie Sweeney, CEO of AIME. Next up, Bob Broeksmit, CEO and President of the NBA. Thank you. Next up, Sara Rodriguez, President of NAHREP. And last and definitely not least, and one of my guys originally from my town, even though he moved around, Tony Thompson, founder and CEO of NAMMBA. Thank you. Have a seat.
Yeah.
So I think something that we could do in just a couple minutes each before we get into the dialogue for everybody that's new here and so many different people from the industry. If you could start, Katie, and then just go down. Just tell us a little bit about you, what you represent, and what's going on with you.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you that I haven't met, my name is Katie Sweeney. I'm the CEO at AIME. I know a lot of y'all, which is very exciting. So our association, we are the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. We represent brokers from across the country. We've got members in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and Guam now, which is very exciting.
Guam.
Yeah, I know. New one that came in not too long ago. We've got about 65,000 members across the country. We took a very digital-first approach over the last couple of years, which I'm sure we'll get into how our associations are working. But our goal is to educate, advocate, protect, and help grow the broker community and the channel by providing access to resources, training, working with realtors across the country, consumers, to help them understand the benefits of working with a mortgage broker when going through the home buying process or looking to expand home ownership opportunities in underserved communities.
Thank you, Katie. Bob, if you could, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks, Eddie, for having me, and thanks for being such a great and supportive member of MBA. There's so much Eddie and EPM do for MBA that would take the rest of the session, so thank you so much. The Mortgage Bankers Association is the nationwide association for all facets of mortgage lending and servicing. So whether you're a broker, whether you're a lender, whether you're a servicer, and within lenders, whether you're a small community bank, whether you're a money center bank, whether you're an independent mortgage bank, you're a credit union, we span the waterfront, and also on the servicing side, which is so important these days with borrowers having gone into forbearance and now coming out of forbearance through the pandemic. And so we're based in Washington. We have 155 full-time people, and we, of course, do a lot of advocacy, which is the sugar-coated word for lobbying, which is, a dirty word to some, but absolutely essential as we advance the interests of the industry. And I'll just give you one quick example of that, and that is that when former Director Calabria at the FHFA decided in his wisdom to go against what the rest of the government was doing and making money easier to get, and he threw a 50 basis point adverse market refinance fee out there with 2 weeks notice so that all of your pipelines were not protected. I shed my usual reserved image and went apeshit.
True story. He does keep it reserved, and he did go a little postal.
I had 9 press interviews over the course of that 24 hours. And in an unbelievable way, we had the White House publicly backing away from its own nominee within 24 hours. You know the rest of the story. The thing got delayed. We had 85,000 emails to members of Congress, the senators and representatives, and the pressure was too much even for Calabria, who had to back away and extend the thing so that your pipelines were protected, exempt lower loan amounts. And then when he left, thank God, now acting director Thompson almost immediately completely reversed the fee. So that's just one example of ways that we mobilize on behalf of the whole industry, no matter what your place in it is, to help American homeowners and borrowers.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Sarah?
And I was going to say, tell us how you really feel. I love that. So my name is Sara Rodriguez, and I'm the national president for NAHREP, which is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. As you all know, in the next 20 years, 70% of the new home buyers are going to be Hispanic. So what we do at NAHREP is that we're basically a nonprofit, and we work in 3 ways. Number 1 is through education. So we're really, looking forward to how do we educate our real estate professionals to better serve their communities? What are the best practices? How do we get them to really capture and be the top 2%, of their community and of the country in their profession? But not only that, so we think that as real estate professionals, this is more than just a career, it's a lifestyle. It's a way to really create wealth. And that's one of the things that we do at NAHREP as well, is that we empower our real estate professionals and give them the blueprint to start creating not only wealth for themselves, but generational wealth for their families. The second thing that we do is that we really believe in being stakeholders with our community partners, so that when things that are coming down the pipeline that are not good for the Hispanic homebuyers, which end up not being good for anybody, by the way, most of the time, that we're there in the forefront just making sure that they hear our side of the story. All those home buyers, the Hispanic home buyers, to see what some of these legislations are coming down the pipeline, what the reality is when it hits them. We do a lot of advocacy, like I said, but the third, we're really a familia. We're a family, because regardless if you're Hispanic or not, we want you to be a part of who we are. We're going to embrace you because we are there to provide a blueprint in a way and a framework to make you the best that you are at, your career.
And last and definitely not least, Tony Thompson.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Eddie, and the entire EPM team for having me. We're excited to be here with you guys today. For those who I have not met, I'm Tony Thompson, the founder and CEO of NAMMBA, which stands for the National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America. Quite simply, our why is a 2-part why. First, our goal is to provide training, education, and professional development to women and minorities who are in the industry. Although it says women and minorities, NAMMBA, our focus is really taking pride in being the most unique, diverse association in our industry, because we represent and really support and help educate and train originators, whether you're a broker, a banker, you work for a large bank, credit union, wholesale, it doesn't matter, as well as real estate agents from across all ethnicities, as well as, most importantly, operations executives. So we take the entire ecosystem, and our goal and focus is really just to help train, educate, and develop to help everyone in our industry become a better version of themselves. The second part of our mission is real simple. We all need to find our replacement for the future. And so our goal is to connect with college students and high school students and introduce them to the exciting careers that they can have in our industry, help them in regards to understand the importance of financial literacy so that they can own a home at 25 instead of 35 or 39, and then most importantly, get in an exciting career within our industry, whether that's in originations, whether that's in operations, real estate, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that this is one of the best industries that you can be in, whether it's real estate, operations, or certainly sales, because at the end of the day, we impact people's lives. And so our goal at NAMBA is real simple. We want to help people grow, develop, and at the end of the day, we like to say that for us, it's all about including everyone.
Very well said, everybody. And I would say, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, Tony, I agree with you. I think you were kind when you said that our industry, everything that serves real estate, is one of the best. I know I'm biased, but I would definitely say it's the best.
Absolutely.
So let's kick it off with, we're here to talk about empowering others through advocacy, and we definitely want to open up the format to questions out there because I think there's a lot of knowledge that can be learned. But before we get into those questions, I just want to ask everybody, because everybody has a different idea or thought process on what advocacy is, and I'd like to kick it off, and let's kick it off with you first, Tony.
Well, for me, advocacy is really making sure at the end of the day that we have the right focus on areas that can help our industry be viable and sustainable long term, while also at the same time doing the right thing to maintain the integrity of the industry that we're in. And if you think about where we are today versus where we came trip down memory lane 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we were not looked upon as a great industry to be a part for a number of different reasons. And, we have to own that. But over the course of the last 10 years, we as an industry have made tremendous strides, both in the mortgage industry specifically as what I'm focusing on right now in terms of making sure that we do our part in the community to show that we are responsible lenders, and also at the end of the day that we can essentially police ourselves and do the right thing. And what we've always learned, and what I'm a firm believer is, when you do the right thing, then ultimately the right good things happen after that as well. Thank you.
Sara?
So, I'm in DC, right? I come from Virginia, and I think here I'm an originator. I own a title company, and I'm president of NAHREP as a volunteer. So when I look at things, I look at it from a very distinctive point of view, because I look at it from boots in the ground. So for me, advocacy is, what does that word even mean? When you tell your kids or you tell somebody, you got to advocate for yourself. It means you got to stand up for yourself and let your voice be heard. What I love about being part of a big organization as NAHREP, or what you guys are doing here, is the fact that we get to take people that are boots on the ground, or our community, our buyers, our sellers, and we get to advocate for them. So we get to elevate their voice, what their concerns are. I remember when Congress was coming down with some changes with the CD and all that stuff, and some were great, and some I was like, don't they understand all these unintended consequences of what they're doing? Like, have they ever bought a house? Like, who is making all these decisions? That's advocacy for me. When you're seeing that you have, in crazy markets where your buyers, if they want to do FHA or even VA loans, and they're not able to win a property because of how the market is, when you're seeing, these underlying things that are coming down, like what you were saying, that are going to make everything harder, advocacy for me is having one voice surrounded by many to come up with those stories to Congress to say, hey, the people that you serve, right, the ones who got you elected, this is what your legislations are, how they're affecting them, that they're not able to get a house, they're not able to, do all these things. So advocacy for us in this industry, which is the best, because by the way, not just because I'm in it, but in real estate, it's the only career that it doesn't matter where you came from, what background you have, the sky is the limit as to what you can accomplish, and the only thing that matters is your grit and your hustle, and how much time and effort and heart you're willing to put into it. The sky is the limit. So to me, it's the best, and we get to advocate for our communities. We get to, talk to home buyers and see, for example, in the Hispanic community, the way that, it would help with, the inventory issues to be able to have lenders look at multi-generational households and 2 or 3 people being able to be able to get one house, things like that. That's what advocacy means for me.
Thank you, Sara. Bob?
I think advocacy is telling our story, because so often the people in the seats of power have no idea what our business is like and how, as you said, the unintended consequences. Sometimes I think they're intended because they're spiteful, but mostly I think they're unintended. But they don't really mean it. It's like, because it's the sentence that's buried on page 3 of the legislation that's the real killer. And so if we go in and we have a full-time head of lobbying, and then we have 4 lobbyists, House Democrat, House Republican, Senate Democrat, Senate Republican, but the most important lobbyists are you all, because you are constituents who will see if these people are reelected or not. So we do things that we need to do in Washington, like we have a PAC, a Political Action Committee. It's now one of the top 10 trade association PACs in Washington. Eddie chaired it for 2 years and set records, which were promptly breaking, which I know is exactly what you wanted to do, but
Greatest chairman should always be the last one.
that's correct. And so the sad fact in Washington is that if you want a meeting with an influential senator or representative, if you have a check in your breast pocket, you get the meeting a lot faster. Sad but true. So we go through this PAC process, and we also have the Mortgage Action Alliance, which is a grassroots thing, where you can write to your representative or senator whenever there's something that's of interest to the industry, and that's where we get those that numbers like 84,000 on the adverse market refi fee. But, so all that is really important. What is even more important is that you all get a relationship with your elected representatives. And you might say, well, who am I? I'm not important enough to know my representative. Well, believe me, you are. And they all have offices in your districts. It's not like you have to fly to Washington, although please do in April for our National Advocacy Conference. But you don't have to do that. They all have district offices, and they are back in their districts usually 4 days a week. And there is nothing more effective than a constituent going in and saying, I employ X number of people in your district. We do Y number of transactions. We put people into homes who otherwise would not be, and what you are doing is hurting that. They will remember that far more than they will when the hired help, which is me and our lobbyists, come. They know that we're doing it because that's what we get paid to do, to advocate on behalf of the industry. But when their constituents come and do it directly, it is so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Definitely last but not least, Katie.
I think advocacy from our perspective is having a seat at the table. We represent, as an association, a group of people that typically don't have access to a lot of these conversations that can have a large impact on the industry overall, and working really hard as a collective group to make sure that those voices that we're talking about have a place to be heard. It's one thing to have them, but if you don't have access to have the conversation, they don't go very far. And you wind up having tables that turn into echo chambers that are reiterating perspectives that are already present, as opposed to ensuring there is diversity and there are people from different backgrounds and different age ranges, different levels of experience, different areas of the country that can speak to the impact that they're gonna feel in their local communities, in their home, in their small businesses back in Texas or in Florida or out in Washington. And for us, it's creating an environment and an opportunity where we not only encourage these conversations to take place, but we provide the ability to sit at the table and have the conversation with other people. And the outcome is the outcome, but at least there's an opportunity to be heard and to make sure that your perspective is a part of the conversation. I think that's the most important thing.
Definitely. And now, we definitely, I know, Boris, wherever you are, the crowd, we want to open up the questions to you guys, because this is the first time that these 4 leaders of these associations have ever been together in one setting, and I think we definitely want to open up the discussion. Thank you. Fredo, I see you, so I don't. You're tall. Stand up, talk, say it loud.
Hi guys, question for you. So, as a newer broker, I know brokers are better. I'm a part of that group, but no offense, I really don't know the 3 of you. So, how do you guys interact well together, and how do you bring our best interests to the Capitol to, grow it maybe even bigger than the National Association of Realtors?
Well, I'll start by saying growing taller than the realtors is a tall order, because there's 1.3 million of them and they're all individual members. So we want to be as influential, but I'm not sure that we'll be bigger, but, which isn't always necessary. But I think your question is a good one. And for us at the Mortgage Bankers Association, we have brokers as members, but we also have the people to whom you sell the loans as members, which obviously has a pretty serious and direct impact on your ability to make a living. And of course, the servicers who then end up with the customers once the loan is closed are members of ours. So what we try to do is tend to the ecosystem from the first, marketing, before the borrower even knows they want a mortgage, all the way through to when the borrower pays off. And each part of that is really dependent on the last part. And I'll give you just a brief personal story. I've been in this business since 1985. I'm 57 years old, so that means 36 years. I started when I was 20, right out of college, and I started as a temp. Most people, I'd ask you to raise your hand, but I can't see anybody. Most people didn't get into this business because that's what they knew they wanted to be when they were a little kid, right? And I'm the same way. I had grand dreams of investment banking on Wall Street and all this stuff, but I'd always worked. I'm the youngest of 6 kids of a minister. I started with a paper route at age 9, dishwasher, then busboy, then waiter, all that stuff, and helped pay my way through college. And I was bored when I didn't have an interview. And to be truthful, the phone wasn't ringing as often as I thought it would be. So I took a temp job. My second assignment was with the money store in Union, New Jersey. I was typing forms on an IBM Selectric typewriter. That was 1985. Now I am the CEO of the biggest trade association for mortgage lenders. And for 14 years, I ran a big regional lender in the Mid-Atlantic called Chevy Chase Bank. So I know from having done every step of the mortgage process. So I now, as running the trade association, I think I have a pretty keen understanding of how each part is dependent on the others. And that helps me see a lot of things, and I can translate those because I started knowing nothing about mortgages. I can translate those when I'm having conversations with policymakers so that I'm not talking down to them, but I make sure they understand how it goes and, skip all the buzzwords and just let's get a common understanding.
Great.
Who wants? Tony, Sarah?
I was just going to jump in and share. First of all, congratulations in terms of this opportunity that you're in. I think, again, it's one of the best industry, if not the best.
It is the best.
The best to be in. For NAMBA, and my philosophy when I started NAMBA was really simple around, particularly the advocacy piece. First, as a mortgage banker and originator myself as I grew up, I wanted to just be in a situation where I know we have the NBA, we have NAR, we have NAM, we have other associations like NAHREP, ARIA, NAHREP, which is the African American Association of Realtors, and they were doing a great job of fighting for the people, fighting for the cause, fighting for everything that's important. For me, what I want to do is fight for the individual and help everyone in our industry, regardless of who they are, black or white, which, by the way, even though it says the National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers, 25% of our members are white, because all we do is just help people become better. And one of the things I always challenge individuals who are in our industry is to become the best broker, become the best mortgage banker, become the best real estate professional that you can be through education, professional development. And along the way, part of becoming the best is also getting engaged and giving back and getting involved to help support, to make your industry better. So my philosophy is real simple. I want to make sure that the industry I came into is a lot better when I leave it through helping to bring in future leaders that can help continue to take it to the next level, irrespective of who they are, how they look, where they work, and what they do.
And at NAHREP, we're very similar. So at NAHREP, we're a very holistic kind of trade organization where, like I said before, we're a nonprofit. Our actual mission is to help advance sustainable Hispanic homeownership. Now, the way that we do it is we do it in 3 ways, like I said before. One of them is education. So we're really focused on educating, I can't speak in English today, the real estate professionals so that they know how to work with the Hispanic community that is coming down the pipeline. I mean, if you look at it in 2019, there were 8.3 million Hispanic mortgage ready, people. And none of them are getting the loans that they can because there's, such a lack of being able to, really connect with the Hispanic community, really make them sure that they are, feeling trust in our real estate professionals in order to engage in those transactions. So that's one of the things that we do. The second thing that we do is that we work a lot in making sure that there's really impactful networking. That's one of the things that I think you're going to find with all of us is that we want to make sure that we're putting you in the room with people who are going to help you, whether it's as an individual to help grow you as a professional and a broker, whether it's with those people that are going to help you elevate or on the same business level. And then the third thing that we do is that we work a lot with advocacy to make sure that we are bringing those stories of your consumer, what's making your life a little bit harder, so that we're taking it up to Congress so that they really do pay attention. Now, one of the things that I was going to tell you is, you know, just because an organization is big doesn't necessarily mean that they're the most influential. And when it comes to Congress or all these other, you know, people that are, you know, making decisions in our industry, a lot of the times they want to look at these focus groups because we're the ones that are really focused on our specific communities, and we're the ones that have the knowledge. I don't think a lot of the times as people we realize how much power we have when it comes to Congress. As constituents, they're afraid of us, and they should be, because they have their job, because we're voting for them. And if we get riled up, if we go to them and we start saying, hey, guess what? I don't really like what you're doing, and you're impacting all of these people, and we're communicating that message across our communities, and other people, you know, start paying attention, that's going to make them more fearful than anybody else that's out there. So it's really important for you guys to make sure that you're giving your voices, you're lending your voices to causes that really can make an impact in our community. For all of us, when we go to Congress, it's not the same thing to say, hey, 100 of my friends and I are coming here and we really don't like what you're doing, than to say 100,000 of us, 1 million of us, really don't like what you're doing, and this is why we don't like it.
Next question. Whoever gives the mic. I can't see either. Those lights are bright.
Yeah, they
George
are.
Berkeley. I've been a broker for 25 years, and I had the great pleasure of lobbying for about 18 years with Roy DeLoach in D.C. And Eddie, I want to tell you, having the group up here this is unprecedented, because it's always been brokers, bankers, everybody's been split apart.
Well, that's the point. We're trying to collaborate, unify.
Yes.
Thank you for
Nailed
the
it.
acknowledgement, though. I'm not mad. I'm just saying you're illustrating the point.
Yeah, but the point I want to make is it's always been us and them, you know, for all that period of time between the brokers, the bankers. Being a survivor of the meltdown like many of you, the others, I spent a lot of time doing political lobbying just out of preservation, self-preservation for my business. What I would like to see and what I bring up is if it was possible that we all can work in a bipartisan manner where we're all on the same page, because probably we agree on 80% of everything. And it would be great to have that together, to go to DC in a big group to work for all of us. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, and I think that this is the start of something. And I've been at NBA 3 years now. I got there, and to be frank, there was some of that residual. You know, the group we started with was the National Association of Realtors, the American Bankers Association, and the National Association of Home Builders. And along with the MBA, those four are, you know, pretty prominent in DC on the housing finance and housing lobby, right? And there were times when we were fractured, and we were publicly fractured, and it meant that it gave Capitol Hill a reason to do nothing, right? Because they're like, well, geez, the housing guys can't even figure it out, so we'll move along to the next thing. So we got together, the leadership of those four groups, and said, look, exactly what you said, 80%, we think we said 85% of the time, we're completely aligned. Let's be that publicly. And on the 15%, let's talk about that behind closed doors and not air our dirty laundry, because it makes us completely ineffective otherwise. And I think with this group, and particularly with AIME, with whom, you know, well, we won't get into it, but obviously there's been a lot of this with those two groups. I think the page is turning, or has turned, and I think that we can be much more effective and lobby, not just lobby. I mean, the real thing in Washington today, I think you'll agree, is in the administration, right? It's the CFPB, right? And yes, Congress has an oversight role of that, so we do both. But within the administration is going to be, I think, our next hardest challenge, because as you know, when the House and Senate are 50-50, not much gets done legislatively, although it can be damaging when it does. But I thank you for that point, and I totally agree with you.
And just to echo what Bob is saying, I think that all of our associations have been very passionate in representing individual initiatives and ideas that are very important. I think, and I will be very candid and very frank, there have been people who have been in roles of leadership positions and positions of power that have taken very abrasive measures to try to force their way into a conversation. I think we now all have an established level of respect, not only for each other's organizations, but for each other as individuals, that allows us to have dialogue that may not always be the most comfortable, but can be done in a respectful manner, so that we can start to establish where are we aligned, where are we not aligned, and why are we not aligned? And maybe we should be. It could be a lack of education. It could be a lack of understanding. It could be that we're just not going to agree, and that's okay, but we haven't had an opportunity to even have those discussions until much more recently. I had a chance to meet Tony last year. This is the first time I've ever been able to meet Sara and Bob, because we haven't been able to cross paths in the time that I've been in this role, and honestly in the short time that AIME's been around. We're only 4 years old. Our association, literally February will be our 4th birthday. We haven't been here that long. We're still the new kids on the block, and as brokers, we still have a lot of work to do in unifying our own voice, but coming along with that, there are ideas and opportunities with each of these associations that we can partner on together to help push initiatives forward that matter to all of us, because we all represent some consumer constituency in some capacity. Any of you that were at Fuse, I stood up on stage and said, we're gonna fight for our channel so that you can spend time fighting and advocating for your consumer and your community. And we do that by working together with other associations that have established reputations of respect on the Hill that we're still working towards.
Next question. And not you, Fredo. When I pointed, it was right behind you, just so you know. But we all figured it out.
So as a realtor, Eddie, I want to compliment you on bringing this panel to the stage. As an NARR
It wasn't me, but thank you.
Well,
on behalf of the team, thank you.
As a NARR PAC major investor, thank you for everything that you guys are doing. And I just want to make sure every loan officer in this room understands how important every single thing they are saying up there is. What we do and the conversations we have on the Hill make a huge difference. I think that some people do not, some licensees, both on the real estate and the mortgage side, do not understand how much work you guys do. I've seen it firsthand. I've been involved firsthand. And this conversation is so important to continue. And I don't know how these amazing people in this room contribute. I don't know how you guys do things on your side of the fence, but I would encourage every single one of you in here that what they're doing affects both of our customers, right? Because my customer is your customer. And the things you're doing for housing, the things you're doing for financial advocacy, the things you're doing for just protecting Fannie and Freddie, right? And not having them completely reformed is so important. So kudos to APM, great job, and thank you for having this conversation.
Come and have my seat.
Yeah, I know. But I wanted to say something, and and thank you for being part of our PAC, right? Because I think a lot of the times, at least when I talk about people and I say, we need to advocate, they're like, I don't do politics, Sara. I don't want to talk about politics because I'm, this side or that side. And when I'm like, well, are you the home buyer side? Because that's not this side or that side. We fight both sides if they're not doing what needs to happen. And I think a lot of the times when, as a layperson, we think about advocacy, we don't understand that, we have the power. And I love this about our PAC, that we have the power to actually, go to our congressperson, and not just on a federal level, but on a local level and start, trying to change legislation at a local level. Like, I'll give you a local level, example. In California, our NAHREP chapter was, really worried about the lack of affordable inventory, which is a problem in all of our states, guys. And so what they did is that they rallied every member and rallied a lot of people and got together with some of the other, associations and truly started pressing their congresspeople so that they could get local legislation change to have ADUs, so affordable dwelling units within their houses. And this is something that is really making a great impact for our communities out there. So a lot of the times when you're talking about advocacy, and I know how we all think, right? Like, what did I tell you when I started? I am just like you, boots on the ground. I have to, create business in order to, to get paid. So, I'm a mom of 3 boys. I run a business. I get it. The last thing that some of us think in our mind is, I don't have time to do advocacy. Yeah, I don't have time to go drive somewhere and say something. I wouldn't even know what to say. But the fact of the matter is that we have to. And sometimes it can be as simple as you get an email from an organization saying, hey guys, because we do all the work for you. We, pour through all this legislation and say, uh-oh, you need to pay attention because this is really going to impact what we do. And all you have to do is send an email out from your own email saying, hey, Congressperson, I'm your constituent, AKA I voted for you. You need to pay attention to me. And this is what I don't want you to do. And by banding together, and again, advocacy is not whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Advocacy is how is government putting legislation, whether it's local or federal, that is going to affect the way that I do business. Because what you are doing here today is trying to find out not how to work harder and more hours, is how to work more effectively and how to work better. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to be happy at what we do, we want to impact our consumer's life, and we want to be able to have a balanced life, right? So that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And legislation affects that. Legislation affects how easy or how hard your job can be. And that is why you need to care about advocacy.
And if I can add just a little bit of context, because I think it'll help a lot here. Housing is very popular with Republicans and Democrats. We are probably the only sector, once again, that truly touches all 330 million Americans. They love us. So if you just vote, you're already at the table. So I want to say, to highlight Sarah's point, this is gray. Our industry, they love us. So gray, purple, whatever color, whatever you want to call it, just to give that context.
Green.
Green.
The party of green.
The grass, green, definitely. I just want you guys to know that before that it's completely bipartisan. Completely. I mean, probably about the only one. I will say that, very fortunate for all of us. Go, Tony, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to make a quick comment in regards to the earlier session. I heard one of the panelists on the stage say, rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so if you think about it, in this room, by show of hands, how many of you would like to do more home sales or more mortgage originations in the next 5 years? Well, through advocacy, that's our way of really creating that opportunity. I was just on a panel this week with NAR, Jessica Lutz, and there are 945,000 homes on the market across the country. 1 month's supply. We need more homes. We need more opportunities. And collectively, through advocacy, as this gentleman stated, together our voices can be much stronger to create more opportunity for each of us in this room and the people on the teams and companies that we work for. And so that is how I like to look at advocacy as well, as saying, how do we use it to create more opportunity where everyone wins in our local communities across America?
Next question. I don't know who has the mic. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. Hello. Okay. I had a question about April 1st with the upfront fees on the high balances and second homes. It's actually really concerning to me. So I was wondering, what are you guys doing for that?
I'll start, because I probably have an easier answer.
We hired the mafia.
We have a relatively newly established advocacy arm at AIME, so I'm not going to say that we've been doing this for a long time. We don't have the same relationships that have been established over the last couple of decades that some of these other organizations do, but we do have a firm. I'm flying to DC tomorrow. We're having conversations about the best way to approach some of the changes that are starting to impact specifically consumers that work with a lot of our members. We did put a formal statement out once the announcement came out. We were one of the only associations or organizations, quite frankly, to take the stance that we did. Our perspective is that pricing should be based on risk and not on your you as a person and who you are and where you're from, and whether it's a high balance or a second home or whatever it is. I don't personally agree with it. I know our organization doesn't either. We've made statements. We sent a letter to Director Thompson voicing our concern, and we'll be continuing that conversation in the way that we can. That being said, the more people get involved and the larger our voice is, the easier it is for us to continue having some semblance of impact in these areas that other members of our industry maybe not as, they may be on the other side of the argument.
And what I'll say to that is that in the context of where the pricing was starting in January of last year, when the, not to get too deep into the weeds, but the preferred stock purchase agreement between Treasury and FHFA just put hard caps on how much you could do for second homes, investment properties, layered risk loans. And that was really tumultuous, right? Because if you're a lender that does a lot of business, let's say you're in a beach community and 30% of your loans are second homes, suddenly Fannie and Freddie are calling you and saying, okay, you're done for the year, no more second homes. Like, how, okay, that's kind of hard to manage. So having Director Thompson work with Treasury to remove those from the PSPA was a very positive step. Now, nobody likes price increases, and when they came out with this high balance stuff in the second homes, we were on the phone with them the next business day, whatever day it was, and said, look, I get that having the second homes have a little add-on, you know, could make some sense from a risk perspective, but when you put 1 1/8 on a loan with a 60 LTV, I don't think it's risk related, right? Yeah, exactly. No, that's right. But so, yeah. So, and the other thing is, in their statement, they said, and we want this to help build capital for the agencies. And we said, if you don't buy any of the loans, you're not going to build any capital. So, I think that over time, you'll see that they realize they've overshot and they'll dial it back. And the good news is that it's a dial and not a switch. The thing in the PSPA was a switch. It said no more than 7% second homes and investors. And that's really hard to implement and really unfair. And if you have a dial and they went too far on the dial, guess what? The dial can come back this way. So that's how we've approached it.
So are you saying it's like a waiting game to see if they go back? Or just...
Well, they're certainly not, well, I say certainly. I would be flabbergasted if they don't implement it as they have already said they will. And then it'll just be a question of whether all the loans disappear to private execution, and then they'll say, well, shoot, that didn't work the way we thought it would, and they'll bring it back. I don't think there's any chance they're not going to implement it on April 1st.
To sum it up for you, yes. They're going to have to see how bad they screwed up. Somebody, wait, I'm not sure. Somebody has a mic. Who's next? Or it is him? Okay. Yeah, give him the mic.
Yeah, I was just wondering on this, you know, seeing that was a little bit disturbing what we were just talking about, what, you know, on the second homes and that. Was that the implementation of what they started out, you know, this administration, I know, just going back, they were saying, you know, for the rich people, they own more than one house. Is that what this is? Is like penalizing people that have a second home or want to buy a vacation home and stuff? Because that's the way I read into it, and maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to consider the mission of Fannie and Freddie. And if you're the Biden administration and you say they ought to focus on affordable housing, first-time home buyers, low to moderate income, and minority home buyers, and then you think about the profile of a second home buyer or a high balance conforming buyer, I think they say that's not as central to the mission. I do think that that's part of it, and that gets back to your point about it not being directly tied to risk.
Right.
Next question. Right there. Okay, by Adair.
Hey guys.
Oh, sorry.
It's a two-part question. First question, has there been any more dialogue or any advocacy for reducing the upfront MIP for FHA loans? That's the first question. Second question is more for NAMBA and NAHREP. Are you guys doing any more to get, a lot of professionals don't know about your organization still. Has there been any more conversations about getting it more out there to people that don't know about the organization, spreading the message about that you guys exist?
I'll give you a quick answer on the MIP. I expect there'll be a reduction before March 31st, probably in the annual. I'm not sure about the upfront. The FHA, HUD and FHA wanted to see how some of the forbearance plays out. I also think that they are staying in sync a little bit with Fannie and Freddie, because I think that the increases in loan level price adjustments for seconds and high balance conformings will be followed with reductions in loan level price adjustments for more mission-centric loans, and they have to stay sort of in sync in terms of market share with FHA. But I think by the end of March you'll see some action.
Great. In terms of NAMBA, we currently have 30 chapters across the country, from Boston over to Seattle. Getting back out of the hibernation period with certainly from a COVID environment that we've been in the last couple of years, we have on tack this year throughout 2023 to add an additional 15 chapters. So if you go to namba.org, you'll see where we are today, and certainly, again, hopefully if we're not in your community, we're getting ready. I know in the next 3 months, we have about 5 live chapters that are coming online throughout the country. So thanks for asking.
And for NAHREP, you know, COVID, I was the Zoom president, which sucked. As Latinos, we really love this in-person meeting. We have about 100 chapters across the nation and over 60,000 members, and we're finally coming out of hibernation. We had a great event in September in San Diego. We had a lot of people, and we're getting ready for our March event, which is 8 Policy 1. So at NAHREP, because we believe in both sides, we have a sales event that focuses on mastery of sales and all those things. That's in September. And then in March, we always have a policy-geared event. And I'm very excited. We do have, you know, politicians from both sides of the aisle, but our keynote speaker this year is going to be President Obama. So we're very excited about that, and we are going to be addressing a lot of these legislations and regulations that are really affecting Hispanic homebuyers. You know, because let me tell you something. The stereotype is that second home, you know, buyers are, you know, non-minorities, but actually, we did at NAHREP a big, you know, a survey, and we saw that there was a huge appetite in the Hispanic community to start buying second homes and buying investment homes, because they saw that that was the fastest and easiest way, well, maybe not easy, but fastest way to start closing the wealth gap through real estate. So by making these things more expensive, you're actually making it a little bit harder for us, you know, in the minority communities to start closing those wealth gaps. So it's an important conversation for sure, and I'm glad that we're having it here.
So we're coming up on time, but before we're at time, they'll be around. People are going to be around if you want to ask those questions, or I'll definitely help you with it. Parting shots. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll start. First and foremost, it's going to be a great year for our industry, real estate and lending, irrespective of what you think in terms of the opportunity. What I would say is think about the next couple years ahead, and how are you going to build your business in such a way that you understand where those market opportunities are, and you start positioning your team, yourself, your business by understanding the information, the data, and really the insights of whether it's real estate or lending, how you can use that information to grow your business, grow your career, and then most importantly, impact your community by helping people get into homes.
Those were great parting shots, and I suggest that everybody really listens to it. At the end of the day, if you've been in real estate for a long time, you see that it's a roller coaster. There's a lot of highs, there's some lows. So we're at the high right now. There are going to be some lows. How low it goes, nobody really knows right now. So it's important for us to make sure that while the market is hot, while we're doing well, that we're establishing a solid foundation in our business so that we can be there 10 years from now, because this is still a magnificent way of making an impact in our community and in our lives. So become involved. Be a player in your life. You know, if this is not just you looking at home buyers and trying to make another loan or another home buying, this is a way for you to actually impact a lot of people and leave a legacy in your community. And you can do that by becoming involved in our organizations to truly take this to the next level.
I heard a lot over the last couple days here about helping others come along, and I really was taken with the stories yesterday about buying wedding dresses or going to going to the shop owner and say who's not able to make their payments on their dresses and just anonymously paying it off. So I want to leave you with one thing that NBA does. We've just had our 10th anniversary of NBA Opens Doors Foundation, and what we do, and I love it because it's so beautifully tied to what we do every day. For people who have children in children's hospitals, we have 14 across the country now, they shouldn't have to worry about making the monthly rent payment or mortgage payment when their kid is in for some really serious cancer treatment or whatever it is. It runs the whole gamut. And so our foundation pays a month's rent or mortgage for people who have kids in the children's hospital. So here we are. We don't know the people who are benefiting. They don't know us. But as you can imagine, it just takes a world of weight off of those families. And I know Eddie and EPM have been very generous to Opens Doors. We do it across the country. We've raised, I think, about $3 million a year. We've helped thousands of families. And it's just the kindness of strangers. And it really makes me feel good about marrying up what we do with homes and keeping people in homes so they can focus on their kids.
Obviously, would agree with everything that these guys just walked through. I think in addition to that, find what resonates with you and get involved. There are a lot of organizations, there are a lot of associations, there are things local in your communities, there are national groups. We represent such different audiences, but have such similar missions. Find the people to surround yourself with and get involved. Give your voice, give your time, talk to others in your community, make them aware. If somebody doesn't know about NAMBA or isn't familiar with NAHREP or has never heard of AIME and they're working down the street from you, let them know. Your voice and your reach in your community is what helps build these associations so that we can have an impact for everybody, but we can't do it by ourselves. I'm one person, so are each of these folks. We can only go so far. We only have so much time in the day as a single person. But when there are 60 or 70 or 80,000 of you that are out there talking to people on a daily basis, make them aware of the other opportunities they have to get involved with the things that they're passionate about so that we can push these initiatives that we care so deeply about forward and continue not only having an impact today, but building a sustainable structure so that we can have an impact 10 or 15 or 20 years from now.
Well, please, it was very kind of everybody, especially these four leaders, to take time out of their schedule to be here. So I want to say on behalf of the Empowering People More experience, thank you guys. Thank you for everything you're doing on behalf of the industry. Thank you for representing. Thank you for lifting them up. And everybody, please give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very, very much.